Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're a returning visitor, welcome to any new visitors as well. First of all, I'm just trying out doing a walk and talk with the phone in portrait mode, because when I've done it in landscape it seems to shake quite a lot. If you've seen my All Alone Together video, that was me trying to fix all the wobbles and shakes with some sort of software program, and I think it just makes it look quite slightly trippy as a result. So yeah, unfortunately there isn't any option on my phone to do like anti-shake, but I did a quick test and it seems that if I do it in portrait, which I've got now, it seems to be okay. So never mind, we do what we can. Also, secondly, a massive thank you to everyone who watched the last video and have commented. I'm actually quite surprised. I didn't really think it would get that many views or comments, to be honest, but I've seen there's still a load more on there that I haven't replied to yet. But yeah, thank you to everyone who's commented and also left your opinions and even tips or advice. That's what I was hoping for, so I look forward to seeing the rest of those. So today's video, I just wanted to talk about the importance of connection and community. And community can also include online, which is something I know quite a lot about. It seems that in this sort of day and age, especially in the West, that we live in quite an individualistic and atomized society, and I certainly can't exclude myself from that, because I've certainly become more, I won't say withdrawn, but I've embraced my solitude even more. So I've alluded to before on, I think, one of my other videos, that I originally moved up to where I am now from Essex. So as I was born and bred there, I was fortunate enough to grow up with a quite big circle of good friends. And, you know, I think it's just a thing of getting older that I kind of lost touch with a lot of them now. I mean, I could still theoretically get in contact with some of them and speak to them, but there's only really 2 or 3 sort of core friends that I still speak to, and I see maybe once or twice a year when I go down there, usually on my birthday, to go and visit them. So I was always, although I'm an introvert, I've always been pretty social as far as with my friends go. Like, I could just as happily be outdoors as I could be indoors, as long as I was with, you know, my sort of core people. And I am very much a people person, so I've never really had a problem making friends or generally talking to people. But one of the things I've discovered, especially learning more about introversion, is that there's this myth or misconception that we don't like people and want to sort of hide away, but that's not the case at all. It's just that I can find some people very draining, especially really dry small talk. So if I'm talking to people that I really connect with, then I can talk for hours and feel pretty energized. Like my friend who I visited the other day, who I usually see now and again. She's one of like 3 friends I have up near where I live. So it's quite ironic, because where I live here, people are by and large very friendly. It's not uncommon to be walking down the street and have a dog walk past you and just say hello, which might sound quite basic to some people, but from where I'm from originally, you basically keep your head down and keep yourself to yourself. And unless you know someone, you don't really sort of engage in any even sort of basic pleasantries. Not as much as up here anyway. So that took a little while to get used to, but I've been here 15 years now, and I don't want to say that there's no such thing as community spirit around here. I think for just general socialising and going out, there's not really that much to do. But I mentioned in my other video about joining Meetup, and that is something I really want to reiterate to people out there, especially people who haven't heard of it. Meetup for me was an absolute lifeline. I've been in it 10 years now, and I stumbled across it by accident. And if you ask most people, they usually either haven't heard of it, or if they have, it's because of word of mouth or because they've also stumbled across it. But I stumbled across it back in, as I say, probably about February, March 2015. And, just got a jog, I'll let him pass. Hiya. I stumbled across it because my late mum at the time said, why don't you join perhaps a rambling group or one of these walkers groups? Now, I'd never been a walker in my life. I had no interest in that. Where I lived before, there wasn't really that many nice places to go walking around. But very long story short, I ended up joining it. And my first meetup was a short walk around. It was over somewhere in Birmingham. It was near the Bourneville place. I think I had to get a cab from there, about 10 minutes away. And then there was like a Tex-Mex restaurant. So we had a short walk around the lake and then had a meal. And it was pleasant enough. I thought, I'll come along again. And then I joined another one. And this time it was a long walk around, again somewhere in Birmingham. And I remember coming away thinking, this is great. I mean, even though there was a lot of people and I felt a little bit overwhelmed, especially because I wasn't in as good a state mentally as I am now. But not long after that, I actually ended up joining a kind of it was like a group for people who were struggling with their mental health. And we would just go for coffee, maybe have a short walk somewhere, but it was mainly just a place to just go in and chat, no pressure. And about the same time I joined that, I also joined a local walking group, which is kind of aimed more at, well, wasn't technically aimed at older people, but I think the average age of people was about 50, 55. So I was like 40 then. And, just one sec. Hello, hiya.
Hello.
But, as I say, that was a real turning point for me because although I'm someone who can very much thrive on their own, and I do prefer my solitude, the importance of connecting with people, even if you're not like a real social butterfly, even if it's just now and again, is so important. I mean, it really truly is. And there's this, I think, myth of the lone wolf mentality. And I was someone who used to consider myself a lone wolf, but of course, if you know anything about lone wolves, they were actually ostracized from the pack and they ended up dying once they're on their own. And the same with us as tribes people. If we were ostracized from the tribe without the warmth and protection of the tribe, we'd end up perishing. Now, I'm not one for social media, and the only social media that I used to do was Facebook, of which I deactivated that years ago. And it's ironic because in a way social media was made in part for us to be more connected with each other and be able to have friendships that span across other parts of the country or even the world. And there's certainly been that part of it. I can certainly say that for myself, but of course, as most of us know, it's ended up also making us even more disconnected and alienated, and ultimately therefore more atomised than ever. And one of the reasons I came off was because I actually felt more and more just, I guess, lonely, and starting to get really cynical of people, and being on Facebook just enforced that, let alone the whole private data thing and all that. That annoyed me as well. But ironically, in a way, I've actually felt less lonely being off social media than I have when I was on it. Now, a few friends that I still speak to are on WhatsApp, which ironically is owned by Facebook anyway, so, they still kind of win in the end. But I found as well, especially getting older, that I actually do prefer my own company more and more. And I've now really embraced my solitude a lot. And I think solitude is really important. I think everyone should really experience solitude. And solitude is not loneliness. Don't get it twisted at all. There is a vast difference between solitude and being lonely. And I felt just as lonely being around people. I've felt truly lonely being on my own, but solitude is a lot different. As I've said before, solitude is more self-imposed rather than put upon you. Now, I mentioned before about coming off social media because I'm not really a fan. One could argue that YouTube is a form of social media. But one of the things I love about YouTube is, from a, say, community/connection perspective, I've engaged with quite a few people, especially recently, on YouTube. And as I mentioned before in one of my videos, one of the things I love about YouTube is not just the content you can find on there, but the engagement you can have with people that leave comments on there. And I'm very much an avid commentator. I love to show my appreciation for one thing, but I've had some really good discussions and back and forth with people in the comment sections, as well as sometimes the creators themselves. And that is something that I know can be the positive side of being on any kind of social media platform. And that's hopefully what I intend to do with my channel. I mean, already I've had, as I said on my last video, quite a sort of number of engaging comments and stuff like that. So it's given me a bit of a boost in a way to really want to carry on and develop doing this channel. In fact, I'll make a separate video on that about plans I have and what I hope to do eventually. But I know for some people they also can't get outside. Perhaps they've got health issues, perhaps they feel quite alienated and isolated in their homes. So I know there's no real easy fix for that, and I don't claim to have the answers, but I think as far as community, an online community, I think it's the next best thing, because for me, even the good parts of Facebook when I was on there was at least the feeling that I could interact with people and connect with them, even if I couldn't always see them face to face in person. And sometimes that can make all the difference, even with a phone call as well. I'm sure if you know anybody, perhaps maybe elderly relatives or people you might know that are elderly, vulnerable and can't get out much, even being a phone call away can make a huge difference in someone's lives. So I think if you're technologically adept enough that you can use a computer, there is the flip side that you can get in touch with people. I mean, I have friends now that have only come about because of being online in one form or another. In fact, the 3 very brief relationships I've had have all come from being either online or through using an app, which is, let's be honest, is the same thing. So there is a lot to be said for that, I think. Going back to Meetup again. Now, the stories I've heard about how that became what it is today, and I presume this is true. I've heard a couple of times the same story, so there must be some truth to it, but I think it was something to do with when 9/11 happened. There were some people that wanted to create a hub for, I guess, surviving members of the family and friends to get together and offer some kinds of support. And like any sort of great idea, it became universal, and it spread more and further afield to what it is today. And I think out of every great tragedy, sometimes there can be some good that comes out of it, and that's a pure case in point. What started off as something to help a small group of people has now become something that across the world people can create their own groups and their own hubs. And perhaps if you're out there and you've had an idea to start an interest group or something you're really passionate about, that's one good way of doing it, I think, because anyone can become an organiser now. I mean, technically I'm an event organiser. I've only done one or two like short little events, but it's definitely a great way to meet people and make connections. And you know, I know it sounds like I work for them, but trust me, I don't. I just sing their praises all the time because, as I said, it was a bit of a lifeline for me, and I can't imagine having not been on that site for 10 years, because like I say, at least two really good friends have come from that. One of the things I want to hopefully achieve with my channel is to have it be a place where people feel they can come, even for just a short respite, to be able to create better content as I go and have a real engagement with people. Because as I've said before, it's something that I really enjoy about YouTube. It's one of the best parts of it is being able to engage with people. And I know some of the favourite channels that I follow, I really appreciate having their channels and their content where I can not only engage with their videos but also interact with people on there. It's a real joy and a pleasure to be able to do that. And one of the things I did like about Facebook was being in a couple of groups, and also just sometimes having posts on my page where I'd get quite a good interaction from people, and that's something I've always really enjoyed. So it's one of the reasons why, despite my apprehension sometimes with this channel, where I'm going and if the content's going to be good enough, but I feel that the more I put myself out there, hopefully it will attract more and more like-minded people, as it seems to have done with my last video, and that really is the aim, you know. So anyway, I think I'm going to leave it there for now. So thanks again to everyone who watches this, and again, especially a huge thank you to people who've commented before and any people that will comment on this. I don't want to do the whole like and subscribe thing. I think I'll wait till further down the line for that. I like to feel like I've got a lot more videos under my belt, and better ones at that, before I start trying to farm for likes and subscribes. But actually, I will say to people who have subscribed as well, I noticed there was quite a few subscribers recently, so thank you hugely to that. It's not what I was expecting, it really wasn't, so it was quite a pleasant surprise to see that. But anyway, that's all for now. Hope you guys are well and enjoying the sunshine. At least here in this part of the UK, it's particularly nice at the moment. I don't even know what the temperature is, but it feels like it's about 15, 16 degrees. And of course now spring has officially started. So anyway, that's all for now. Take care guys, and I will see you all in the next video.